I'll be discussing color as a visual element in comic books. There's an unwritten understanding between comic books and readers that is achieved by color. Information and messages relayed through visuals rather than text. Color can communicate many things to the reader that are essential to fully grasping the story of the comic. Words stimulate the mental processes of imagination, but illustrations stimulate a sensual experience. Colorist Chris Sotomayor says that the most important thing a colorist needs to do is understand color theory. The second thing is to know how comic storytelling works, and to use that color theory to enhance the storytelling. Sotomayor says that the goal of color theory is to provide color combinations that will elicit a certain emotion and work well together aesthetically.
Color combinations are created by utilizing the color wheel. Our basic color combinations include complementary colors, those being directly opposite one another on the color wheel, and analogous colors, those adjacent to each other. Valerie Romaine, a design and color theory professor from the Art Institute of Vancouver, reveals other color schemes that can be used. These include triadic, that is, 3 colors equally spaced around the color wheel. This includes our primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, termed as such because every other color is made through the different combinations of these 3 colors. Another scheme is tetradic. This is double complementary colors, using 2 complementary color pairs. An image that follows one color suit is monochromatic and is often used to relay one message, one image, one emphasis. This is seen mostly in the splash pages of comics. These are the general combinations that one would employ to produce something aesthetically pleasing. Generally using warm colors, these are yellows, orange, and reds, will cause excitement and are used during times of tension, dramatic conflict, or high action as they attract more attention. Warm colors are more aggressive and increase the apparent size of objects as they carry more visual weight. Romaine also states that there is an optic effect of warm colors, that is, the image advances towards the eye, a tool used to force the reader into the tension. Conversely, cool colors, greens, blues, and purples, slow a scene down. They are quieting, often relaying sad, dark, or despairing moments. There is less visual weight with cool colors, with an optic effect of the image receding or retreating away from the eye, which explains the scene slowing down as you, the reader, are being pulled out and distanced from it.
Colors can also be used to express certain traits of a character. This is most prominent with superhero characters.
Originally a means to counteract the dulling effects of newsprint, costumed heroes were clad in bright primary colors. This has become a trademark of superhero characters, most of them donning at least one primary color. Superman wears all 3, Captain Marvel, red and yellow, Captain America, blue and red, and Spider-Man, also blue and red, among others. I say most of them because there are those like Batman and the Punisher that clad themselves in black. They're heroes nonetheless, but darker versions, vigilantes. Red, yellow, and blue are associated with the good guys, those that represent what is right and just. As direct opposites, the villains are often illustrated in secondary colors. Sotomayor says that if you want to convey that something or someone is evil, using secondary colors is the way to go. Think of the Joker, purple and green. Even Lex Luthor, when he wears his battle armor, is also in purple and green. Most of Spider-Man's nemeses are clothed in secondary colors. The Sandman, green, Dr. Octopus, green and orange, and the Green Goblin wears purple and green.
The color green, particularly, is often used to convey horror, something spooky, or something supernatural.
Examples include Kryptonite, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, the Joker is as creepy as anyone can get. Gray, black, and yellow, and sometimes blue, represents Batman. The cover of Frank Miller's Batman: The Dark Knight Returns is an acknowledgement of this iconic Batman. The opening pages are thematically colored in hues of black and gray with yellow accenting. Most iconic of all would be Superman. The primary colors have long been associated with this character. In the same way, there are colors that are associated with certain emotions or feelings. Red can suggest anger or passion. Black suggests evil and darkness. Yellow connotes joy or hope. White, purity. Pastels are more innocent or childlike. They're safer and calmer in comparison to bolds.
While colors can represent certain characters, traits, or feelings, They are also used to emphasize, highlight, and or draw attention to certain aspects on the page or in the comic.
In fables, this is achieved through the use of bolds against pastel or flat backgrounds. Attention is drawn to these characters or aspects of the comic. Furthermore, colors act as an obvious contrast to black and white. Several of Frank Miller's Sin City comics, like Booze, Broads, and Bullets, and That Yellow Bastard, are drawn almost entirely in black and white, with additions of color acting as narrative signifiers to draw attention to important characters.
In Understanding Comics, Scott McCloud states that in black and white, the ideas behind the art are communicated more directly. In other words, meaning transcends form. When color is added, they objectify their subjects.
Beyond characters and objects, color can also be used to emphasize other senses, like sound, as seen in The Dark Knight Returns, with bright red onomatopoeia contrasted against the black and gray of the page. We can use sound in film to demonstrate the use of the lack of color in comic books. Michael Filimowicz of the School of Interactive Arts and Technology at SFU said that in films, areas rich in shadow and darkness are spaces where a lot of sound design tends to dwell. It is out of sight, but they're still there for hearing. In that sense, large areas of black are for filling in with the imagination. Contrary to this, Filimowicz says that large areas of white are for the overload of the imagination, spaces with too much information or white noise. These areas end up being spaces full of and filled with nothing, while black areas are filled with darkness. And as you cannot see what is lurking in the dark, much is left to the imagination.
All of these aspects can come together in a single frame, a full page, or even an entire comic book.
The splash pages of battle scenes in Kingdom Come incorporate so many of these color elements and different combinations in one frame. I take another example from Wolverine Origin. In the first frame, James and Rose are distant from each other. They are both colored in warm tones made to contrast the cool hue of the background and provide emphasis on those two characters. In the second frame, the characters come together. They share warm tones as the red blanket and orange hair are analogous. These attest to the shared bond of the characters, in direct contrast to the rest of the world, the background. There is warmth, love, and passion between the two described by the colors, a special bond. The next few panels reveal their cool eye colors to be analogous as well, blue and green. Furthermore, these colors, red and orange and blue and green, are double complementary, further emphasizing the harmony of these two characters. All of these aspects bring the characters together. And just as the colors have linked these characters together, in relation to the story, they also walk away together, signifying the connection made between the two. The opening page of Civil War is concentrated on blue. The final page is painted with a hue of orange. These complementary colors bring balance to the book that parallels the story. The narrative starts at one point, the action rises, peaks, and then resolution comes. The plot arc is much like the arc of a rainbow, or half of the color wheel, directly moving from one color to its direct complement.
Another variation of this harmonic closure can be found in Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Preludes and Nocturnes.
The first page opens with the nervous Dr. John Hathaway entering an unwelcoming-looking home, gated and confined. There is a strong concentration of purple, blue, and green, the cooler side of the color wheel. In direct contrast, we find Dream, on the last page, freely gallivanting in an open space, beaming with joy, drawn in a world of bright yellow that stems upward to orange and red. When these two pictures are put together, they complete the color wheel. This signifies the completion of the first episode of Gaiman's Sandman series.
Color is meticulously selected to evoke certain responses from the reader. Whether it is to convey a theme, a mood, or a feeling, color is a means to grant the reader further insight to the comic without the use of words. It is a powerful and imaginative tool for storytelling, most essential in comics. In the words of Scott McCloud, when used well, color in comics can, like comics itself, amount to far more than the sum of its parts.